All right, good day, welcome, or good evening, I should say. Welcome to another broadcast. So glad that you guys can join us. It is Friday, December the 12th, 19. Wow, I said 19. I've been living in the times, in the time tunnel must be, I said 19, wow. 2025, that's where we are today, okay? Anyway, we got another good one for you tonight. And this is something I have been personally invested in over the last few days. This is a very interesting topic. I'm still tripping right now. I said 19. What in the world? So anyway, let's go ahead and get things started. And when we come back after this this music here, we're gonna go ahead and jump in our topic. We're jumping right in, okay? Welcome and happy Friday to you, and welcome to the weekend.
Hold up.
Yeah. Alien, Indian, king, queen, the chosen one, the list goes on. Every label they gave me feels like a costume I got drawn upon. In this matrix, we all dance at a masquerade ball. Don't like your mask, just switch and no one gon' call it at all. Yeah. Got a closet full of shoes, but none of them fit. Trying on personas, man, I'm tired of this skit. They say find yourself, but they hand you a script. How you gon' find truth when the lie's been equipped? I'm tuning out the noise, can't hear no more. Time to meet the man I've been
Welcome everybody.
He patient, he wise, been waiting on me. While I was lost in what they wanted me to be. I'm not your illusion, not your projection, not your borrowed dream or your reflection.
All right, we're going to be starting here momentarily. Just giving people time to come on.
I'm not your illusion.
Let me skip it here. Hold on.
Indian king, queen. Don't like your master switch on this, man, I'm tired of the skip. They say find yourself, but they hand you a script. How you gon' find truth when the lie's been equipped? I'm tuning out the noise, can't hear no more. Time to meet the man I've been ignoring at the core. He's patient, he wise, been waiting on me. While I was lost in what they wanted me to be. I'm not your illusion.
All right, about another minute and we're going to get started. We're going to jump right into the topic tonight.
Dress up in your fantasy. I'm not your illusion. They told me in church, we're here to worship, but I never seen a goldfish paying tithes and service. Maybe purpose ain't found in a building or a verse. Maybe heaven just a silence when I listen and reverse it. I've been scrolling through the roles they made, swiping through personas like a masquerade parade. But there's peace in the pause, truth in the still. When I sit with myself, I remember what's real. He's got clues for the chaos, light for the dark, yeah. Answers that whisper straight out of my heart, yeah. No more confusion, no more disguise.
All right, almost ready. Getting ready to start. Living in a free.
No more playing dress up in your fantasy. I'm not your illusion.
Friday, y'all. It's Friday. Give me a moment before we jump into this, y'all. Welcome. I bet y'all didn't know I could sing a little bit. No, that wasn't me. I wish I could take some credit for that. But I did write it, though. I did write it. That's in our music section over on Sobertree.com. Make sure you check that out. Yes, we do have music that we sell on Sobertree. Many of you have been asking about some of the music that we feature on our platform. And yeah, that's just one of them on it. That wasn't from our most recent album, which is called Go Solar, but there's one right before that one we came out with, and it's on that one. It's on that one, The Dreamer Who Remembered. I think that was the name of that one. Check that out. Yeah, we got another one coming out soon. It will be the it will be the winter album that will be coming out pretty soon. Okay, that'll be coming out real soon. Yeah, man. He said, man, I would love to kick that tune live, bruh. I've been thinking that, man. I would love to go to something live. I would love to see someone they just jamming, they just throwing down. I'd love to see that. So, you know, that you already got me now thinking I'm gonna be hitting what's that website you go and you see what's everything that's going on in the local area. The last thing, the concert that we went to, my wife and I did. My daughter, you know, she knows there's like a few songs. We like Michael McDonald, along with a lot of other artists. And Michael McDonald, he was actually in town with the Doobie Brothers, or what's left of them, or whatever. I think a couple of them gone, but with the Doobie Brothers, and that was good. It was good. You know, we were like all the way in the nosebleeds or whatever, but it was still good to get out. You know, but yeah. But I'm looking for some. You know what I'm saying? I'm looking for some jam and stuff. You know what I mean? So yeah. So hopefully I'll check and see what's going on. I think I've already checked what's going on in the Phoenix area. We'll see, you know, and but yeah, it's that time, man. I'm just ready to go down. Well, anyway, good to see you guys here. Welcome again. So glad that you guys here. And yeah, of course, you know about Sobertree.com, all your health and wellness needs, and that's a one-stop shop for all of that. And again, as always, to our customer base, our family members, we really appreciate each and every one of you guys. And you know, remember, it's the holiday season, and we're still in the middle of our up to 30% promo, which means a lot of things. One of which, yeah, the I won't say the elves, because I know some of y'all gonna say they're demons. Okay, we ain't got elves up in here. Okay, we got real black folks. Okay, how about that? That are putting in work to get orders out, and we are doing that. That is happening. So if you're listening at the sound of my voice and you're like, where's my order at? We getting them out. We getting them out. Okay, it's take a little time, but they're getting out. Okay, just wanted to let you know. But check us out over at Sobertree.com. Okay, all right. So tonight I want to touch on this topic here. You know, I just like going straight to the source on stuff. When I hear all this stuff going on, I just want to get right to the heart of the matter. I want to get to just get me to the wizard. Okay, get me to the man behind. No, not the wizard. Get me to the man behind the curtain. How about that? Because I ain't got time to be doing all this work just to get to the wizard, and then he telling you, okay, well, you know, if you really want to know the truth, you got to go back out there and you got to deal with all of this stuff. Then come back, and then I'll give you some. Man, bump that. We gonna make the Wizard of Oz a lot shorter here. Okay, we're gonna go right to the back, because we know that's where the real person is. That's where all the levers are. that's what we're doing tonight. So, many of you by now, I'm sure you've heard, if you on social media, if you, particularly on the X platform, YouTube too, we've kind of touched on a little bit this whole situation going on regarding, Turning Point USA. And, there's just been questions that are out there. Of course, the person that was formerly over it, Charlie Kirk, he was assassinated. And what has happened is basically there has been a general narrative that's been put out by the feds and said, okay, it took us a couple of days. We got the guy. His parents turned him in, and that's it. Good job, guys. We're out of here. Now it's going to go to the courts and everything is done. Well, among many people on social media, there was one person in particular, Candace Owens, who is looking at this like, I'm not too sure about this. Something about this isn't exactly adding up. It's not adding up. And so she has been kind of leading the charge, if you will. But like I said, there are many, many others on social media, many others that have been asking questions, looking at this thing from different angles. And, and this comes based off of history, what we know from United States history. Anytime you have an assassination, it is never done by a lone gunman. Never. It is never done by this one person who decided to wake up and I'm going to shoot somebody and I'm going to somehow make my way past all of this security and they're not going to see me. And I'm going to get one shot off and I'm going to just hit this person perfectly and then get away. It's never, ever been a time like that where that's happened, like that we know of. There's never been a situation like that. Do people do some crazy things? Yes. Do people do, like shooting people? Yeah, that happens all the time. But here there was a lot of other things going on here. A whole lot of things that were going on to the point where people are like, okay, I got some questions. And, being the people that we are, we're going to do just that. We're going to ask questions. You have people that have been asking questions for years about the MLK assassination, the assassination of Malcolm X, the assassination of JFK, RFK, 9/11. There's been many there's been many conversations that have gone on through the years where people have constantly questioned the official narrative. And I think that's healthy. I think that's normal. I don't see a problem with that at all. Regardless how the questions are being asked, it's irrelevant. Answer the questions. You understand what I'm saying? And when there's a pushback, anytime when you're asking questions and there's a pushback to those questions, usually that means that the people who are doing the pushback, there's something that they are saying, don't look everywhere else, but don't look over here. That's typically what that means. But we're going to get into this a little bit deeper. So we're talking about Candace here. In this case here, she's had her questions, and I'm actually going to show you on the screen right now. Here's her questions. But then after that, I'm going to ask you, and then we're going to look at some of the reactions that I have been seeing. I have one video, but I'm going to show you all throughout Twitter the reactions and responses from Christians. Because you got Christians out here that are saying that she deserves to go to hell for asking these questions. There's other Christians that are saying all kind of other things too. She's not this, she's a serpent, she's this and that. So what we're going to do, since we are thinking people here tonight, we're going to look at the questions that she is asking. And we're going to find out, is this something that you think would be a qualifier to go to hell? Let's take a look. So let me go ahead and pull that up on the screen. It takes a moment here for me to, to pull this up here. But, this has been on her podcast. She's been putting this up here pretty regularly. Let me see. I think we'll start. Oh, yeah, we'll start with this first one here. Okay, so let's take a look here. There it is. Okay. Okay, so these are her questions here. All right, so we'll just go through it, and let's just go through it. Okay, so Turning Point USA verified lies. The amazing, heroic, magnificent Mikey McCoy had blood all over him. Now, the reason why she's describing him is because the father and other friends of Mike McCoy, he's a member of Turning Point USA's executive staff and all of that. And he's high up in the staff. I'll just say that. He was described as when he was on the scene, and there's video out here, and we don't have to go through all of the showing you the video clips and all of that. You can look that up on your own if you like. His father and other people, well, particularly his father, just said that when that shooting took place, that he was covered in blood. That's what he said. But then the video came out and people looked at the actual video. He wasn't nowhere near it. The father said this. The father said that this man, his son, was covered in blood. But the video, when you look at the actual video, he wasn't. It didn't happen. And then secondly, it says, and that was his father, Rob McCoy, he said that. Secondly, his father also said that he called his father first. And if I remember correctly, what Mikey McCoy said, that he said, I called my dad first and I said, Dad, we're going to have to hurry up and we're going to have to, I want you to gather all the preachers together. And because it's a time for us to pray because Charlie Kirk just got shot. That's what he said. He said he called his father first. But we found out that that wasn't the case because they also said he called Erica first. But which is it? So again, these little things here. So next thing, Mike McCoy was a hero that day. But when the shot took place, he actually did as soon as it happened, it was like, it's almost like when someone blew a whistle and it's like, okay, everybody get in place. He literally turned and went back. It was like, it was no reaction like, oh, snap. Like, just imagine you're in a crowd and you're just standing there, everybody's doing their thing, and then someone gets shot next to you. Do you just turn around and automatically get on your phone without anything? Or like most human beings would be like, oh, snap, you know what I mean? Be ducking or whatever. There was no ducking. There was none of that. It was just like an automatic. So people are looking at this like, okay, yeah, that's kind of strange too. It's very strange. So again, these are just simple questions, right? Then the claim came that, the FBI is saying that his, Charlie's neck, the type of bullet is a 30-06 that penetrated his neck. It actually got stopped. It could have, they were saying this particular bullet is so powerful, it could have continued to go through his neck, exited his body with an exit wound, and could have hit other people behind him. But what the preachers and people were putting out was, they said that the doctors were saying, oh, it's almost a miracle because his neck was the bones in his neck was so strong, it caused this bullet to kind of ricochet in his body, and it protected the people in the back. They literally tried to make it into this whole miracle thing. Now, since that was said, people who are well-versed in ballistics and all of that, they said there's no in the world, a bullet like that, it would have pretty much, if that was the bullet that went through his head, it would have literally taken his head off if that bullet was used. They said there's no way in the world that bullet would have been used. And people actually have done their own tests and all of that stuff. And they said, no, there's absolutely no way. Now, for those of you who may be watching who are more versed in ballistics, you could chime in on that or whatever. But again, it's odd. It's very weird. I mean, okay, you said that it was this type of bullet, but people who have spent years and years and years, with guns and understanding ballistics and understanding, trajectories of bullets and what happens when it hits flesh and all of this other stuff, they are actually chiming in and saying, no, it clearly was a bullet, but it wasn't that bullet. Why would they make that up? Why would they say that? So again, there's another thing that people are like scratching their heads like, that's strange. Why would you say something like that when, it pretty much that would not been the case at all. And then of course they said Charlie never wavered in his support for Israel. But that was proven to be false as well. I showed you the text messages where he was saying the complete opposite, that he was done with trying to roll with Israel. He said that pretty much, he said they live up to the stereotype, and he said, I'm done with them. That's what he said in his text message. But today they're actually pushing a book where he's, they're talking about how he would come home and say Shabbat Shalom and all of this other stuff. And it's like, how would you on one hand say you're done with these folks, and then the other, you're working on a book that's talking about how people need to get to honoring the Sabbath and all of this other stuff. It's like, yeah, that's not adding up either. That's not adding up. So again, more questions. Then she gets into, let's see, Charlie never wavering in his support for Israel. Charlie was a committed evangelical who only liked Catholic architecture. She mentioned that she got more into that as far as like, I guess based on her personal interactions with him over the years, he was someone that was evolving in, going from being evangelical to going more into Catholicism or whatever, right? So she had more light to shine on that. And then also too, they were floating out how Ben Shapiro and Charlie Kirk never had any bad blood between them. Well, she actually showed text messages showing the direct opposite of that. And again, you can find all of this on, she's provided all of this on her podcast and all that. You can look that up. So based off of that, I got another page to show you. Does this make her someone that's a candidate for hell? What's evil about this? Now, before I continue, let me just say something very clear. I know that what I'm doing tonight is based off of me looking at this case. Staying on this for days, and I have been interacting with many people on all sides of this issue. Okay, so if you think I'm talking about you personally, I'm not. So I just want to make that ultra clear. Okay, but this is based off of my interactions with numbers of people, because like I said, I've been really interested in this, and I'll get into in a moment why I've been very interested in this case, because it does remind me this is peak Christianity, what we're looking at. Peak Christianity and how people are reacting to this. Let's get to this next page here. Come up momentarily. Here's more of her questions. And these are the main things that she's asking. That's it. Here we go. Terry Farnsworth told me to remove the SD cards by police. Terrell. Hope I'm saying that right. Farnsworth was told to remove the SD cards by police, but it came out that wasn't true either. Because actually this guy that was, after Charlie Kirk got murdered, his first reaction was to remove the SD cards. And he said the reason why that was his first reaction is because he was afraid that someone would steal. He saw that people were stealing hats and stuff when Charlie Kirk got killed. So he was afraid that, he didn't want stuff to get stolen. So his first reaction was just to take the SD cards out, not the camera. Not the camera, but the SD cards. Okay. Again, but he said that the police told him to do that, but the police did not tell him to do that. Terrell, I hope I'm saying his name right, removed the SD cards because people were stealing hats. I told you that. Charlie establishing a Doge was not unusual. Turning Point has financially audited the company every year since its inception, but that wasn't the issue. This was also put out, and the memo is out as well. Charlie Kirk had specifically said he fired, I think, like someone that was over the finances, or one of the people that was over finances. He said, basically, go by what I'm doing. He said, because there's a lot of weird things going on with our finances. He said, what I am calling for right now is a Doge situation. I am calling for a whole Doge investigation into our finances, because I'm seeing a lot of weird stuff going on with our finances, and this is not adding up. And, and there are people out there saying, Turning Point has been saying that, well, the reason why, this isn't anything strange, because every year he called for an audit. But no, he specifically said Doge. And Doge was something that was not even in existence until very recently. Y'all know this with Elon Musk and what he was doing in Washington. But he specifically was wanting more of a forensic kind of audit going on, because there was a lot of money coming and going. And he was just kind of confused. What the heck is going on? I want to know if I have that video here. Maybe I'll play it, because there's someone on X that really went through it and explained how it was just some very weird stuff going on with their finances. They literally kind of went through in detail where they were creating shell companies and stuff like that, where there were some things going on that Charlie didn't even know what was going on. And, there was some other weird stuff going on there. So I tell you, I've been really into this. So let's see. Charlie Kirk's team did not fly drones at the university, but I think it came out that they actually were. Security communicated with the university police to secure the rooftops. That was proven out to be something different. And then, of course, she's been talking about these Egyptian planes that her and many other people who have been really looking at this and finding that these planes that are registered to Egypt have been tracing Charlie Kirk and his wife for years. They would have an event here, and all of a sudden these Egyptian planes just happen to be in the same town. They would go here, and then these Egyptian planes will be here. So there was just a lot of pieces to this story that's just not really adding up, right? So there's a lot of questions. And this reminds me a lot of, let me get to this guy, Richard. Let me pull this up here. Give me just a moment here. It would be right here. Richard Gage. This is a guy, he's like an architect. And when I tell you this dude, he's still on 9/11. This guy he's been tracking the 9/11 story since 9/11 and saying that none of this stuff is adding up. And he's one that's been asking a ton of questions. Is an older guy, and he posted this, and I thought this was a really good post here. Check this out, what he was saying here. Very good post here. He said, what did they say when we started questioning the official 9/11 story? And he says, you're hurting the victims' families. You're just grifting off of the tragedy to make money. Just let the authorities do their job. That's anti-Semitic. You're unhinged and mentally ill. Stop dividing our country. We already know who's guilty. The FBI told us. You're siding with the terrorists. You're demonic and evil. Stop. Just stop. He said, sounds familiar? He said, well, 20 years later, we're not stopping, and neither should you, because whoever did this has control over our government. That's him right there. This dude's still at it. He's 20 years deep and still at it, and still catching these same accusations by simply asking questions. Now, let's stop here for a second, and let me ask you. Now, I just showed you these are the main questions that she's been asking. Now, I personally have been watching all of her podcasts. Now, between the questions that she's asking and listening to everything else that she's been saying, I'm going to ask you, if you have been investigating and invested and looking and watching this stuff as closely as I've been, do you see anything at all that she's saying, that she's asking here? Is there anything at all where she's attacking Erica Kirk? How is Erica Kirk being attacked with those questions? That's what I want to know. And the reason why I'm asking that is because you got a lot of people out here that somehow have come to the conclusion that she's attacking this widow. But I'm sitting up here like, wait a minute, how? I just read to you everything she's asking. where is this even coming from? How is she attacking Erica Kirk for even asking those questions? Questions that Turning Point should be asking themselves. But instead, Turning Point ain't asking these questions. They're telling people you need to shut up and you need to go somewhere else. Don't ask that. This ain't the time. Now, I understand, like I said, when someone is grieving and you lost a loved one and all of that, people grieve, how they grieve or whatever. But here's the question I have. Okay, but I've seen you on talk show after 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 talk show. I'm looking at all of this and everybody's holding up the new book. But what I'm hearing coming out of her mouth and the mouth of other people in that world, they're not mentioning the fact of the millions and millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars they have generated since this man died. They haven't mentioned any of that. $80 million just in selling shirts at a funeral. $80 million. $80 million at a funeral. And then they just said, oh, the book sold out. We came out with the book sold out. They're having a convention, I think it's here in Phoenix area. Oh, it's sold out. All the people that's coming in to speak at the convention, they're not doing that for free. In Texas, did you hear in the state of Texas, they literally just signed a bill mandating that all schools have a Turning Point chapter on their campus. And if you dare say anything about it, if a school says, well, I don't think we want that on our campus, they're going to get the wrath of the state if you do not allow a Turning Point chapter on your campus. This is in the state of Texas. And we're not supposed to question any of that. We're not supposed to question any of that at all. It's a mandate that you have a Turning Point chapter on school. If it's a public school, they're saying you must have it on your campus. Now, I don't care if it's an organization that I support. I don't believe in mandating anything. I don't believe that. For those that will, and it's funny, the people that are okay with that and greenlighting that, they got a problem when black folks do something and say, well, we're mandating that public schools have this program or that program or this program. Like what was it? Not the 16, was it the 1611 project? I think that's what it was called. Now, I had some serious issues about that whole thing because of the content of what was in it. Not the black history per se. I'm down with that, but they were trying to interweave all this transracial or rather transsexual and LGBT stuff in there. That was the part I was like, nah, you can keep that part. But you had states that were actually pushing, and maybe they did, mandating that on there. Now, I disagree with that. Even though I'm a strong proponent of black history and all that, I'm someone that believes that black history, as a black person, you should, those lessons need to be taught at home first. If anything, it should be taught at home. We should never depend on the government to get our history right. We should be the ones teaching it in our homes first. That's where I begin with that. But when it comes to public school, I'm not with you mandating anything like that. If the students want it, then they can let them have it. But to mandate it? But this is where they're going. But why are they mandating it? Well, this is what we've been touching on these other broadcasts that we've been doing recently. It's because Turning Point USA is a Zionist organization. Okay? Then we talked about some other things that was going on in Israel, where they got over 1,000 preachers. We just talked about this in our last broadcast. Over 1,000 preachers that have committed to be ambassadors for the state of Israel. You should be registering if you're going to do that. You're going to be an actual ambassador for another country here in the United States. You know how much money they're getting from all of that? Now, that's not just Turning Point. I'm just saying, when you're a Zionist organization, you are directly and indirectly connected with all of these different organizations. But anyway, there's a lot of money that's flowing into that right now. But yet a podcaster comes up with is asking questions. She is making hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars. She ain't making that much money. And compared to 80 million plus, nah, get out of here. But here's the thing, because I'm going to show you now. We're going to jump on X in a moment. What I'm going to show you now is what this demonstrated to me. What this whole exercise, what it really is demonstrating to me, it's really showing the full face of Christianity. And not just Christianity, but religion in of itself. Because religion is built on one of these, it's built on several pillars. But one of the main pillars of religion, particularly Christianity, that's what we're going to focus on this evening. One of the main pillars of Christianity is you never question the narrative. You never question a narrative. When it comes, and what's the narrative? It's the Bible. You never question it. The Bible in of itself is God's holy word. No matter how many contradictions it has, it's God's holy word. And how dare you question it at all? You're not supposed to question it at all. God said it, I believe it, and that settles it. And you're never supposed to question a narrative. And what Christianity has done is it uses the Bible and it expands that ideology to other things. What am I talking about? When you're dealing in the church world, it goes beyond just, they will use the Bible, but then when it comes to leadership, for example, you got pastors out here that will do some very crazy things that are beyond the pale, and you as a member will raise your hand and be like, Pastor, why are you doing this? Or First Lady, I saw the First Lady doing this. I saw the elders doing this. And the moment you say something, don't you dare say that. Don't you dare do that. Touch not God's anointed, do his prophets no harm. And they will immediately shut you down. The moment you start asking questions, the moment you start questioning the narrative, all of a sudden, these same people that are claiming to be your family members, you all all Christians or whatever, but don't you dare question the narratives. Don't you dare pick up this Bible and look at it, and you looking as clear as day at the contradictions, and you're pointing these things out, and you're saying, wait a minute, this ain't adding up. This ain't right. Don't you dare say anything. Don't you dare acknowledge that. I know the pastor's addicted to porn, but don't say anything. Let me tell you something, ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something. We are not living in those days anymore. Okay, we're not in those days anymore, because you have a generation of people who, let's say, for example, you go to a funeral and, back in the day, you go to the funeral and the person laying up there in the casket, and everybody coming up and saying, man, this guy, he was such an angel. He was so nice. He always lit up everybody likes saying this. Everywhere he went, he just lit up the place. People just laughed and they just enjoyed him and all of that. But if people were freaking honest, most of the people up in there would say straight up, no, this man was straight up. He was abusive. He was this and that. And nobody will say anything. They just kind of won't say anything. That has been a tradition up to this point. But those of you of a certain age, let me kind of bring you up to speed. This is 2025. We're going to 2026. People don't do that anymore. They're going to now start speaking up and saying, no, there is no grace period. We're going to start asking questions now. You understand what I'm saying? So let me help you out, because there's some people who still had that mindset and think that, it's a little, no, we're going to ask questions. If it ain't adding up, we're going to ask it. I don't care who it is. And what they're doing now, what I'm seeing, what they're doing to Erica Kurt, I ain't got no beef with her. I ain't mad at her. Don't know her. Never met her. Okay. And that's that. So don't make any more of it with what I'm saying here. But I'm looking at this as someone who's been an entrepreneur, has been in business and done all this stuff and understand, how business, leadership teams and stuff are built and all of that stuff. I cannot get up here and say, okay, let me just put it this way. And let me just say that. Let me give you an example. Okay. Like I mentioned earlier in the broadcast, we got a lot of sales. We're pushing through and getting these sales out to the customers, right? And we're getting them out. It's just taking time. We got a small staff and, we're doing what we can do, but we're getting we're getting these orders out. Okay, so let's just say it's been 3 months, 4 months. You still ain't get your order. And then you get an email from us and we're saying, hey, cousin, hey, bruh. Hey, we all family, and, hey, we decided, it's out here in Arizona, it's hot, and we doing the best we can, but, we needed to take a break. We needed a vacation, and, we just need to take some time. We all family at the end of the day, right? No, I don't get to do that. I can't afford to do that. You understand what I'm saying? You can't kick the we all family stuff when you waiting for your stuff. You understand what I'm saying? So what they did with her is she said, when you are attacking me, that's one thing. Nobody's attacking her. But then she said, when you're attacking my family, then she started saying that the staff at her multi-million dollar operation, she's calling all of them family. When you start attacking my family, now all of a sudden they're family now. They're not a business. They're a family now. And so what that does is it provides some type of shielding from any kind of criticism. You see the manipulation that's going on? That is straight up manipulation. No, you are a multi-million dollar corporation. You are. And there are many people that give of their finances and their resources to your corporation. And you as an individual have the right to ask questions. You have the right to. Today I was thinking, I remember there was a ministry that we were part of. And this is many years ago. It was a youth ministry. We weren't even married then. Nicole and I, we weren't even married then. And then I'm going to get to showing you how these Christians are reacting on social media. I'm going to get to that in a moment. But let me tell you this first. And I remember I was young then. I remember I was so pumped up, excited about this youth ministry that I came across. And I remember I got my income tax return check. I forgot. I don't know how much it was. It was, for me, it was significant. I don't know how much it was, but I was so excited. I just signed it off and gave it to the ministry. That was it. I wasn't expecting anything in return. I just was like, man, let's do this thing, And I remember I got a call from the guy that was over it, and he was like, man, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And we're doing these things, and we're doing this, that, or whatever, and all that stuff, right? And, and I was like, oh, that's cool. I wasn't like, oh, that means I got an inside. No, I wasn't even thinking that at all. I was like, man, let's do this thing. I was so excited to see, this is a youth ministry that was going on Black college campuses all over the United States and all of that. And doing I thought at the time doing some very good things and all of that. But over time, that whole ministry, it just went belly up. I mean, there was a lot of things. We actually shared that whole testimony on one of these. It's a much older video that we did. It's called Destined to Disaster. So you can look that up. I did hide it for a time because I was like, okay, we put it out there and it's done. But I think I put it back out there, but either way, by the end of this broadcast, I'll check and make sure that it's available. You can watch it. I wasn't hiding it because I was scared of anything. I was just like, it's run its course. But I think we should. I was thinking about that today. But anyway, what I'm saying is this. When you're dealing with ministries, people that use Christianity, that we're doing a good thing and all of that, you got many people who had that same mindset that I just described. They're just signing over everything. I can't tell you the amount of stories of older people, particularly older women, who are signing their wills over to ministries, and they've been doing this. This is a normal thing in a lot of churches, where these pastors will literally go after these older widows and say, hey, add us to your will so that we can get everything when you kick the bucket. They do this. Churches do this stuff all the time. And so, Turning Point is no different. Turning Point is no different in terms of how people give all of their resources and things like that. So, but here's the thing. When people give money like that, a lot of times, they don't ask questions. They don't ask questions. Okay, we got doing this big building here, but I mean, how effective are we in this community? I mean, for real. I mean, how are we addressing some of these things right now? There's a ton of people that's about to lose their jobs because of AI. What kind of answers can we bring to help those people? Okay, you preaching out of the same books every Sunday and every Wednesday, but how is that helping this family is losing their job, going to lose their house, lose their car and all that? What systems do we have in place to address that? But Pastor, why are you well taken care of, but most of the people I'm hearing are broke? Things like that. We didn't ask those kind of questions. When I reflect on my church experience and all that, I can recall there were years I never asked things, even though my thinking brain had a bunch of questions, but I was trained by religion never to ask it because there was this invisible border that was put in front of me. Don't you dare ask that. This ain't the time to ask it. You got to be sensitive. You're being divisive now for asking that. How dare you ask that? How dare you have these questions? That's what religion does, doesn't it? Anyway, so let me take you through here, and I'm going to show you some of the things that has been I've been bookmarking here on some of the reactions that people have been putting out with Candace and her questions. And if you're just joining this broadcast, welcome. Please go back to the beginning of or earlier on in this broadcast, because I actually showed you all the things that Candace Owens is asking. And I'm going to ask you again, when you go through that list of questions that she's asking, I want you to answer for me what exactly on that list, where exactly in all those questions is she attacking Erica Kirk? And then the other question I'm going to follow up with is, where in all of these questions she's asking, does this mean that she's a qualifier to bust hell wide open? So let's take a look at these some of these reactions here over on X here. And these are just some of them. Candace Owens bears nothing but foolish bad fruit. You shall not afflict any widow or orphan. If you do afflict them and they cry out to me, I will surely hear their cry, and my wrath will burn, and I will kill you with the sword. You shall not afflict any widow or orphan. Okay, so let's stop here for a second. We're going to put on our thinking brains on for a second. Look at the questions that have been asked. How is the widow, in this case, afflicting Erica Kirk? Okay, so just want you to use your thinking brain, and we're going to look at this. Okay. All right. Let me go to, I meant to play this video too. Let me play this video here. Because that was one thing that wasn't added to that list that Candace had put out of all the questions she had for Turning Point. There was a claim, Candace Owens, she said, and I could substantiate this, Charlie Kirk, the night before he died, he actually sent out a group text and said, and was expressing that he was in fear for his life. He put that out there. He said this. But the Turning Point people were denying, coming out, kind of playing it down and saying, we all feel this. They were playing that down and acting like it never happened. Well, the internet never forgets. And here's a video of one of the individuals here acknowledging that, yeah, it did happen. Let me play this clip here.
He wrote me this: please pray for me. I'm under the gun on something right now. Prayers appreciated. I texted him and I said, I hope you've increased your security detail. He texted me back. He said, quote, I have. I know they want me dead. And I don't know who he meant by they.
I'm playing it again
he wrote
for
me
you.
this. Please pray for me. I'm under the gun on something right now. Prayers appreciated. I texted him and I said, I hope you've increased your security detail. He texted me back. He said, quote, I have. I know they want me dead. And I don't know who he meant by they.
So it was out there. But the wife came out, I think, was it yesterday or today, and said, oh, no, there's nothing. He never said anything like that. He never said that. I think this is Frank Turek. So someone's lying. So the wife saying, oh, he never said that. This dude saying, yeah, I got a message and this is what Charlie Kirk said. So why would you lie about something like that? Okay, all right, let's move on. Let me see. Give me just another moment here. Oh, I need to reduce this. That's part of the problem here. Give me just a moment here. I got another one here. I'm having that same issue that I was having before. It's like it refreshes, and then what happens is it kind of like throws things out of order here. Let's see. Sorry, y'all. Hold on for a second. I don't know why this thing does this, man. It just drives me nuts when this happens. Okay. All right. I'm going to have to search. Hold on, let me see. Here we go. See, what I should have did, I should have screenshot all of that just to avoid this. Give me just a moment here. Oh, okay, here we go. I'll just play this. I'll just show you this. Okay. Here's another one here. Here's someone else saying, block Candace Owens, she is Satan. I already read that one to you. Here's someone else. They said, oh, I know where to find that. I know where to find that now. I think I know where to find. Okay, here we go. Here's someone else that said, I think Candace hijacked the revival. Remember Charlie's memorial? So incredible, so Holy Spirit filled. So many people heard the gospel. Church attendance and Bible sales were up. Here we go. You got the money part in there. Bible sales were up. Church attendance and Bible sales were up. People were posting that they're going to go to church and becoming better because of Charlie. And just like that, Candace made it all about her and her questions. How dare she ask those questions and hijack the revival? And not only that, she's accusing the organization that Charlie built. That's why I'm pissed. We could have had an outpouring of the Holy Spirit like none other. We could have had a counter repenting and coming back to God, and he would heal our land. But no, she hijacked it. Now, let me ask you something, Christians. Let me ask you something. Let me ask you something, religious folks. Let me ask you something here. If your God is all that powerful, and let me tell you something, it would not take one person to block all of this stuff that this person is saying could have happened. he's powerful, and oh my God, the revival, it could have happened. It could have happened, but she stopped it. She stopped the revival. She stopped the outpouring of the Holy Ghost. I want y'all to really think. I'm just taking my time with this. I'm taking my time with this because this is what Christians been putting out. This is what y'all been putting out. Those of you who are Christians, this is what you've been putting out. I showed you the questions that she's asking. I listed them out, but she somehow, you can't ask them. Oh my God, how dare you do that? You literally stopped the revival. Here's another one here. Someone just posted this. They said, these are the kind who worm their way into homes and gain control over gullible women who are loaded down with sins and are swayed by all kinds of evil desires, always learning but never coming to a knowledge of truth. 2 Timothy chapter 3, verse 6 through 7. And he's got a picture of, to make sure you understand that he's talking about only one woman, and that's Candace Owens. How dare she does that? Look at what she's doing. Here's someone else here. This African dude. I had to get in on him on that. Oh, sorry. Where is it? Samuel Say. I don't even know who this dude is. He said, Christians who are supporting and defending Candace Owens need to stop and repent. You are supporting and defending sin. Again, go back to the questions that are being asked. How are those questions equated to sin? How are those questions equated to sin? But this is what's being put out here. All right, let's go on here. Let me see. I had another one here. Let's see. And there are so much gaslighting that people are putting out. They're bringing out all kinds of scriptures and all of that. And in all of my time, I'm asking people, okay, what exactly is being said here that is sinful? Like, help me to understand this. What about these questions are sinful? I'm really trying to understand what you're saying. Here's the guy here. He says, I don't like to say someone is going to hell, but Candace Owens is going to hell unless she repents. She's going straight to hell because she has to repent. Repent for what? Asking questions. Let me see if I had some other ones. And I asked the guy, I asked the guy this, I said, isn't this interesting? So you as Christians, you can find forgiveness for the actual shooter, but Candace, for asking questions, is going to hell. How does that make any sense? But see, in Christendom, it makes perfect sense. Because if you are someone that uses your brain, your prefrontal cortex, and you're actually processing things and you're saying, this doesn't add up. I got a question about this. This doesn't look right. Let me read another one for you, and then I'll bring up something here, and then we're going to wrap it up here. Okay. This is the same guy that said something about, said what he did earlier. I want you to listen to this. This is the kind of gaslighting that Christians are doing right now all over. Christian men, if your wife is listening to Candace Owens, you have an important and difficult task ahead of you as spiritual head of the home. The scriptures tell husbands to love their wives as Christ loved the church and gave himself for her, washing her with the water of the word, that he may present her holy and blameless. Your wife's spiritual health is your responsibility, and it is your job to protect her from influences that will rot her soul from inside out. Find what scripture says about slander, false witness, gossip, and backbiting. Find verses about the importance of filling your mind and heart and mind with truth, goodness, purity, and God's word. Talk to her about why she shouldn't be spending time listening to Candace Owens, even as mindless entertainment. Same goes for smut novels, soap operas, TikTok, and the like. Do this gently and lovingly. Never be harsh. Point her to alternative resources that will uplift and encourage her in the Lord. Get some recommendations from your pastor. Allie Beth Stuckley, and this is another woman that loves to play around and toy around with scripture, and then when someone calls her out on it, she immediately hides behind more scriptures. Also comes to mind as a solid biblical resource for women. My wife loves listening to Allie, and I would highly recommend her. This is a real problem right now. Don't let your wife's soul languish under a torrent of gossip and smut. So again, in the beginning of this broadcast, we took the time as mature adults and we said, let's get to the root. Let's find out exactly what is being asked that qualifies Candace for the gates, to go past the gates of hell and to burn in hell for eternal damnation. We looked at the questions, didn't we? Did you see anything at all where she was calling Erica Kirk a liar, or saying some very things that are, just uncharacteristic things, just calling her names, all this kind of stuff. Did you see anything like that? I didn't see it. I'm honestly looking. We are honestly looking with our eyes, and it's not there. I don't see that. But what I do see are numbers of religious people who will show you just how much forgiveness they have in their heart for a murderer, someone who actually took out the life of Charlie Kirk. I forgive him. Oh, Lord, we forgive him. Oh, Shanda Robokoto. Oh, Shanda Haha. Lord, you got all the tongues in the world to forgive a murderer. But let one person ask a question the narrative. Now all of a sudden, oh no, we can't do that. We can't do that. We can't question that. You can never question the narrative. These are the same people who had no problems questioning the narrative coming from the government, out of all people, out of all organizations. Had no problems questioning 9/11. Had no problems questioning the vaccine. But now in this case here, how dare you question the feds? How dare you question this? How dare you question Trump? I sat and I watched how when Trump came out and literally said what he said, it was like, are we still talking about this, this Epstein guy? We still talking about him? Man, you guys need to leave this alone. I sat there and watched many of these Christian supporters, pivot right along with that and say, well, I guess he does have a point. After all, because Trump is a busy man and all that stuff. And now what they doing now, they're slowly dropping more and more stuff from those Epstein files. And guess whose face keep coming up? Trump. He keeps coming up again. Oh, we don't want to see what happens is if you release it, it's going to hurt a lot of people. Well, how about we talk about the victims first? Didn't they get hurt first? Didn't the actual little children that was involved in all that, didn't they get hurt first? So I wanted to do this video, like I said, it's not going to be as long as the ones that we normally do here, but I wanted to do this video because we're calling these folks out. I'm calling this ain't about you having to be on Team Candace and you got to support her and all that stuff. I don't care what you do. But what we are about here on this platform, we are about asking questions and getting people to ask questions and encouraging people to do that. Someone left a very nice note, a comment on our channel here. I'm trying to find it here. It's on our community page, and I so do appreciate them doing that. I took their name out, but it was under one of our recent things we posted here. Let me pull it up for you. And this is exactly why we do what we do here. Let me just show you here right quick. There we go. It said, thank you, Brother Dwayne. Been following you and your wife since 2018. My so-called awakening was in 2015. Of course, I unsubscribed at one time because I was in my feelings about some of your views during your deconstruction journey. Now, here I am going through this deconstruction for the past year. Again, thank you for sharing your journey. Keep going. You're blessing too many. That's why we do what we do, because we encourage people. You need to ask questions. And when I'm sitting back and I'm looking at this and I'm seeing this entire religious establishment all coming together like Voltron and coming against this lady here for just simply asking questions, calling her all kinds of stuff, sending her to hell, doing all this stuff. They got so much love. They got so much forgiveness in their heart for the guy that actually committed to murder. That, well, at least according to the FBI, we can forgive him. We got so much empathy and all of that for him because that's what Jesus would do. But he ain't gonna forget that nigga. I mean, that's basically what you're saying. And so many people are falling for it. So many people are falling for it. So as observers, my encouragement to you is this: when you're watching this whole situation, keep that in mind. Really go to the root of it. Don't allow yourself to get caught in. There are so many people. Like I said, again, I'm listening to all these folks, and a lot of these people, particularly these religious folks, they will pour on so many scriptures. She reminds me of Sennacherib, and she reminds me of the evil king that threw Shadrach and Meshach and Abednego. She reminds me of Cain, and she reminds me of Satan and all. I mean, the Bible is everything. They throw everything at, Meanwhile, I'm like, okay, but can you answer this question here, this little technical question here about this? How dare you ask that question? Don't be one of those people that are afraid and intimidated to ask questions. That's how you learn. That's how we all learn as human beings. We learn by asking questions. And when you see a lot of people pushing back on you, when you start asking questions, that's usually a very good sign, letting you know that there's something there. Especially when you're dealing with the government, when you start asking too many questions. Do I have that video? Let me see. It's a video of Jasmine. Let me see if I have that video here. And then we're going to be done. I promise you. But I just remembered that. Let's see. Jasmine. Let's see if I can find that. Give me just a moment. Let me see if I can find this video. That would be under... If I can't find it, that'll be it. That's it. Oh, let me show you this. Let me show you this. I meant to show you this. Someone posted this. I thought this was really interesting. This was really interesting. Check this out, y'all. I know y'all find this very interesting. This is called Pulsa Denura. Pulsa Denura. It's a Jewish Babylonian Aramaic. They said it was referred to as the lash of fire. Now check this out. Is a purportedly ancient Kabbalistic ceremony in which the destroying angels are invoked to block heavenly forgiveness of the subject's sins, allegedly causing all the curses named in the Bible to befall him, resulting in his death. It is controversial for having been allegedly invoked against several contemporary political figures, including by Yusuf Dayan against Yitzhak Rabin before his assassination. I thought this was really interesting. Really interesting. And I saw some parallels of what's going on now. So I just wanted to share that with you. I was like, whoa, that's pretty something. Anyway, check that out. Let me see. And for our supporters on the channel, I have a video I'm going to be coming up with over the weekend. Make sure you check it out. It's really revealing here. It's really revealing. I found it. We're going to be going in even more with this stuff here. Take a look at this. This is Jasmine Crockett. Remember, I told y'all she got all of that mouth, but at the end of the day, the bottom line, the baseline for Jasmine is Israel at the end of the day. And I want you to take a listen to this here.
People have said, I know you've seen it on social media, where people are saying that some of them aren't going to vote for you because of this pro-Israel stance. What do you have to say about that?
What I have to say is that people need to start to do their research and stop falling for the clickbait. Listen, if you've loved me before, then what has changed? You can always look at my voting record and know what it is that I have and haven't voted for. But it's quite intellectually lazy if you just sit there and let somebody else tell you something and you don't go and get the full picture. You can always look at my FEC filings and find whatever information it is that you seek. So what I will tell you is that I'm not going to be distracted, because at the end of the day, I can tell you that Texans are concerned about the fact that we lead in uninsured in this country. I can tell you that Texans are concerned because right now jobs are few. I can tell you that Texans are concerned because they can't afford childcare. I can tell you that Texans are concerned because hospitals are about to close down. And if you have questions, then you should just go and look at my record. I have nothing to hide. I wouldn't be running for office if I had anything to hide. But what I'm not going to do is allow people to sit here and have me on the defensive about something that they don't even know what they're talking about, because it is very easy to look up who is endorsed by who and to figure that out. That is intellectually lazy for you not to just go and look who has been endorsed.
Okay, so they did their homework. The intellectually lazy did their homework. They said Jasmine Crockett has calls criticism of her pro-Israel stances intellectually lazy and asked for people to look at her voting record. Well, she has voted to cut down, and they named this one bill, and to arm Israel, along with voting yes on the following pro-Israel bills: H.R. 771, H.R. 340, H.R. 1449, H.R. 5917, H.R. 798. I told you people they're not going to just take that anymore. You ain't going to be able to break it, do all that anymore. It ain't going to work anymore. It's not going to work. People are going to ask questions. People are going to investigate. And this is why I love, these LLMs, ChatGPT and Grok and some of these other things, because in real time, you can actually fact check people. In fact, here on YouTube, they're starting to add a little AI stuff there too, where you can actually fact check me. You know what I mean? The stuff I'm saying. So it's getting real here, where it's going to be harder and harder for you to be lying and trying to think you can pull the wool over people's eyes. It ain't happening anymore. But anyway, be people that ask questions. Be people that don't allow anybody at all to intimidate you, to put you down or whatever, because they feel like, or try to make you feel like you're out of place for asking a question. To hell with all of that. No more. Okay. We're grown folks, and we're grateful for the life that we have, but I'm not about to waste it on a bunch of people who just want to continue to live in their bubble, to continue to live in this matrix system. I'm trying to get out, and I'm trying to get as many people out with me as possible. And in order for us to do that, we have to be a people that will ask questions. All right. Some people ain't going to like it. then good for you. That's just you. But we're going to keep on asking. We could be respectful, but we're going to continue to ask our questions. So anyway, that's all I have for this particular video. Thank you, as always, for tuning in to this broadcast. Happy Friday to you. Happy weekend. Hope you guys enjoy the rest of your weekend. And let's see, we might, my wife and I, maybe we'll do something on Sunday. We'll see what happens, okay? But anyway, with that being said, thank you so much. You guys take care, and I'll see you again next time. Take care.